Today we're going to talk about something that you may or may not have seen on TikTok. Some people might argue only concerns Asian folks online, but I actually think everybody could stand to witness what's going on. It is something that is so disturbing, frankly, and infuriating that I had to say something. If you have anything to take away from this video, let it be this. This young woman, Madeline is her name on TikTok, deserves better. If anything is taken away from this video, let it be that people should send support to her, because what I'm about to show you is something so infuriating. This is a content creator who is a lesbian and who just makes different kind of life contents and content about queerness, influencer stuff sometimes. And recently, and by recently I mean literally 2 months ago in September, she shared what was supposed to be a lighthearted, clearly, you'll see a lighthearted conversation about an experience she has in Asian grocery stores. I'm going to play the video for you in full at first. In the edited version, it'll be with some cuts, but I'm going to play the full video for you, highlighting certain context that will be important later on. Let me just say that. I want you to watch this, and then I want you to keep some things in mind when you see how people react to this video. So let's start.
I really am a nice person, but I can't stop myself from giving snark to the white people at Asian grocery stores. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. I can't stop.
So she cannot stop giving snark and side eye, she'll say side eye, to white people at Asian grocery stores. I'm even just gonna pause right here. I feel like what's interesting about this is that you see other ethnic groups make this kind of commentary. And this is why I really think it's important to talk about Asian Americans. You know, Charles Barkley meme, we need to have a conversation. Because with Asian Americans, maybe there's not as much familiarity with this kind of discourse. But really, I think there's an approach to whiteness that Asian Americans have that differs from, say, what Black Americans have. You know how sometimes Black Americans will talk about like, hey, we're warning y'all, like other people of color and ethnic minorities. We try to warn y'all about the ways you'll get played by white people and by American society, and you don't listen. This is giving that. Do you understand what I mean? Like, I hear Black folks all the time talking, jokes about, for instance, African people at an African grocery store, and a white person comes in and you look at them like this. Or you just joke about, what are you doing here? Or you make offhand passive comments about what that might mean as a sociological phenomenon, right? Because, and we'll get into it, there are socioeconomic, sociological phenomena here that are not unimportant. But let's just keep watching the video. I'm getting ahead of myself.
Like, I just side eye every time I see you there. What are you doing here? And like, arguably I could be in the right if they're like, taking up space loudly in the way, but I do it even when they're not.
Do you notice the tone here? She's noticing and actively saying, I could be in the right if it were a thing where they're acting a certain way, but I'm actually in the wrong, essentially, is what she's saying. Like, I do it even when they're not doing anything actively wrong.
Do it when I just see you down the aisle way picking out like your pre-made sushi. I'm over there like.
And do you notice the use of sound effects, right? And it's just like a side eye, right? An innocuous side eye. She's not talking about beating people up in the grocery store. And she's obviously being lighthearted. And she's obviously making reference to how she's in the wrong. The same way that you might be like, I know I'm wrong, but I just love XYZ.
And I know I'm wrong for it because like.
Just said it.
Especially if it's a small mom and pop grocery store, which I just got back from, like, go support them.
Please remember that comment as well. If it's a mom and pop shop, a small grocery store, go support them. She says this in the video.
Support them. You didn't do anything wrong. I'm just a bitch. I'm just a bitch. I'm a really nice girl, but I'm also a bitch. And
she's saying she's a bitch. Like, I don't know how else I can explain. Like, she's clearly making lighthearted comments about herself, and she's being self-deprecating, and she's talking about herself in a critical way. And watch where this goes. Like,
I saw this one girl who was in the grocery store. She's like down the way with like blonde hair, and she's like looking at the packets or whatever. I give her this side eye. I'm looking at her. I see her giving me side eye back. She's like at me. I was like, and I know I don't look super Asian, but I'm like, I'm literally supposed to be here.
First of all, you do look Asian. Like, I know she's Wasian, and that's going to be a big part of this discourse. She's Wasian. She's mixed white and Asian. But she would be racialized as Asian by most people. And I'm speaking as a Wasian who is racialized as Asian by most people. I also get the struggle of being like, I know I'm not like super Asian looking, and I'm not technically fully Asian. But listen, people would see you and think that you're Asian. Like, that is a thing. In fact, they might think like you're full-blooded Filipino, for instance, right?
Buying the foods that I grew up eating right now. And then she came closer and closer. And I saw this moment as we're both side-eyeing each other, where we both got closer and closer and closer, meeting in the middle of the aisle, and we both realized that the other person is Wasian. We both realized that we're Wasian, and we both were like,
So now she's making a joke about how, or making reference to how she had this experience of side-eyeing a white person in a grocery store. The white person side-eyes her back, and then they both realize as they come closer to each other that each of them are Wasian. And so it's literally referring to also, again, in a self-deprecating manner, the fact that sometimes people are mixed and you can't tell when you judge them instantly. And also, you know, sometimes you're forgetting that you're Wasian, and all these different like minute details. They're all mentioned in here.
And then we smiled and we walked away. It was almost Wasian on Wasian crime. But I think she was doing the same thing I was doing, giving me the little like, what are you doing here? Which is valid, but also white people keep going to Asian grocery stores.
She's saying to white people to keep going to Asian grocery stores. I want you to remember these things as we go forward.
Keep supporting small businesses. But I do hate it when white people come in there and they're like, oh my God, I've seen this on TikTok, and their kids are running around amok, like making a disaster for people that are just like buying their regular weekly groceries. I do hate that. But like, most of this is on me, and I'm sorry, but I'm also not sorry. Sorry.
She's saying most of it's on her, and then she's saying sorry, but I'm not sorry. But she's also, you know, essentially saying, yeah, I'm a bad person for this. So the reason she's saying sorry, I'm not sorry, is that she's like being honest about it. And there are like little concerns that validate her doing this, but she still recognizes, okay, I'm being a bad person about this, right? Which I would argue, frankly, and some people are apparently going to call me unhinged for this, she doesn't really have anything to be sorry about. I want everybody to take a deep breath because it's about to get absolutely infuriating. Here are the comments. Don't let me catch you at a Trader Joe's. Somebody named L. Don't let me catch this Asian girl at a Trader Joe's. Okay, just setting the tone here. It gets a lot worse. But if you think about the deeper implications of this, babes, I don't think you're a nice person at all. Is your white parent allowed to shop there? Or do you need the Wasian mix for the entry fee? So this is just straight out racist. If she didn't even include the anecdote about her having encountered a Wasian person and having that experience, I could maybe see people being like, hey, are you not checking the fact that you're Wasian? But like, aside from the fact that being mixed with white does not mean she's not Asian, which is again a discourse, what in the hell are you talking about? So this is where we should get personal a little bit. I'm Wasian, I'm Latino Wasian. It's a whole thing. I am mixed Dominican and Chinese. I have had a white grandparent, a white grandmother who died some years ago, rest in peace. And yeah, I've had the experience of knowing that the white side of my family is pretty racist. Like, my limited experiences with her in my adult life were recognizing, wow, she was pretty racist, my white grandma. And that's a really harrowing experience, okay? Or harrowing. I don't know why I said harrowing. That's a difficult experience, and it's something that teaches you early on. Being Wasian, being mixed with white, having white people in your family teaches you in a very specific and personal and difficult way just how much white people can be invasive in a different space, just how much white people can be disrespectful, just how much white people can be racially ignorant and straight up racist, even towards people within their own family. Like, if you've never experienced microaggressions from within your own family, that's something that you just are not going to understand, perhaps. So to talk to this person and say, well, because you're Wasian, you're obviously being so stupid, because wouldn't your white parent be going to the grocery store? Would they not be allowed in there? It's like, maybe you would actually get mad. You don't know what this person's life is like. Half of the hell of people who are mixed with white would be like, yeah, I would side-eye the fuck out of my own white family because they're racist and I know that they are. Like, do we not know this about biracial people? Isn't that wild for somebody to say that? So many people, I feel like maybe you don't feel like you fit in and you are projecting that onto others. You should unpack that. Where the hell do you think you get off? You should unpack this in therapy. Brit, look at this. White women talking to this Asian woman. You should unpack this in therapy. When she's literally talking to you saying, I recognize that this is wrong. Weird take, babes. Especially coming from a Wasian. Aren't you literally half white? One of your parents is literally white. So do you think it's weird they procreated with an Asian to make you, let alone go to an Asian grocery store? I believe you are racist. This is an Asian person saying this. Now we're really going to have a discourse, because some of the very people that are beating her down for this take are Asians, Asian Americans, oftentimes within a certain age group, a certain generation. And they're the ones calling her racist for being a little bit uncomfortable with white people in an Asian space. And it's like, I need you guys to learn like 5 different things about history right now. Because do you understand what the history of a lot of Wasians are that live in the United States? What the history is? Why a lot of, let's say, white military members of the United States may have ended up marrying an Asian woman and having kids with her, maybe in Japan, in Okinawa, for instance. Do you not understand, like, there was significant racist implications there? Have you not seen the histories of, like, for instance, in the 50s and 60s, I think it was a Harper's Men's Magazine article talking about how this white man was so glad that he found an Asian woman in Japan because she was so much better than these white women because she was completely subservient to him. Are y'all not aware of that history existing? Moreover, are y'all not aware of the ways in which white people have over the years used food as a type of soft colonial appropriation of other people's cultures? Like, there have been multiple times in which white people have opened Asian restaurants and have faced significant criticism for benefiting from Asian food and Asian culture without employing Asian people, without giving back to Asian people, often while being disrespectful and using stereotypes in their marketing. That's a whole thing. And then calling someone racist for being uncomfortable about white people. This is like, what in the 2006, what in the 2007 discourse is this? So you aren't a nice person. Well, thanks, Bree. That's very nice of you to talk to this Asian person and completely invalidate her lighthearted, self-critical reflections on being uncomfortable with white people, because as it turns out, white people are racist. And sometimes that rubs off in their engagement, even with going into stores. This is a wild take. Look at them. This is a classic misogynistic thing that people do on TikTok. Often other women will do it. Will screenshot a picture of the content creator zoomed in with making a face and then a quote from them. It's rage bait. You create rage bait out of a woman's content to make people really hate them. Look at that. They do this a lot. Another woman, another white woman. Now, one thing that you'll want to notice before we get into Ed is that, again, this video came out 9/4, September 4th. These comments, for the most part, were in November 6th, November 6th, November 7th, a week ago, November 6th, November 8th. And that's because, I'm not going to fully attribute it to this fellow here, but this was a huge fulcrum of it. This is a massive content creator named Ed, who I was previously following, and I'm going to just say I'm unfollowing you right now, Ed. Ed has almost 1 million followers. He has had several viral TikToks. He's a co-host of a podcast called What in the Shibar. So that's just giving you a sense of the kind of Asian American content we're getting here, right? Classic Asian American content creator, kind of doing a little bit of cultural commentary. And this is how he frames Madeline's TikTok.
I really am a nice person, but I can't stop myself from giving snark to the white people at Asian grocery stores. I'm sorry, I'm not sorry. I can't stop doing it. Like, I just side eye every time I see you there. What are you doing here? And like, arguably I could be in the right if they're like, you know, taking up space.
So first of all, we're 20 seconds in and I just have to comment on the faces. This is such anybody over the age of 30 does these reaction videos on TikTok and Instagram, and they feel the need to make these faces. Like, it's so common among like elder millennial content creators. It just makes me cringe. I don't know if that's worth saying. I don't know if that's some deep insight, but it's like so patronizing. It's so annoying, and it's so like, let me continue to facilitate to the audience what they're supposed to be feeling as they're watching this. So as he's taking this Madeline creator out of context, and trust me, that's what he's doing. You're gonna see what he says. He's also making these faces. Oh, these faces and doing all that, right? Couldn't be any more patronizing. Couldn't be any more disrespectful when you see the context of this.
And like, arguably I could be in the right if they're like, you know, taking up space loudly in the way. But I do it even when they're not. I do it when I just see you down the aisleway picking out like your pre-made sushi. I'm over there like...
I can't tell if you were just joking.
So Ed, first and foremost, you lost. You lost. What do you mean? You lost the game, bro. Like, you can't tell if she was just joking because you framed 30 seconds of her TikTok explicitly to exclude the things that note that she was joking, that note that she wasn't being serious. Like, for instance, the multiple comments that she made saying white people do go to Asian grocery stores, as well as the multiple times that she said, I know that I'm wrong for this.
But you should take this down immediately. The thing is, we all are foreigners in other people's spaces too, which means that we all experience feeling like a fish out of water. And even
The comparison between white people being in a space that is not white and any other race of people, any other ethnic group being in spaces that are not theirs is a classic form of race blindness and color blindness, which is a classic weapon of white supremacy. It is, ask anybody in France who's a person of color about this. They use this language and these comparisons as if to say, well, the experience of racism is essentially just not being treated like you're the same, being in a space where you're a fish out of water. And there's also context, there's like little tidbits in Madeline's video that he's not picking up on that we can get into, like the thing about the prepackaged sushi. But immediately, red flag on the play. We all experience being a fish out of water, yes. And some of us experience being discriminated against by white people in a white land that is white supremacist. Like in a white country that is white supremacist. And then having to watch those same white people consume things from your ethnic background, from your cultural background, flippantly, willy-nilly. And we'll get into examples of this. Partially, yeah, through food. Like, I know sticky lunches discourse is always talked about among Asian Americans, but there is something significant to be said about the fact that, yes, Asian food was racialized very negatively in the 2000s, and then in the 2010s, the rise of sushi and K-barbecue and all this stuff made it really popular, and you have all of these white people who frankly have no respect for the cultural background, for the fact that something like, army stew, which is a popular Korean dish, comes from the Korean War and prior to the Korean War and the immense poverty faced by Korean people over colonialism that was facilitated by other white people, right? When we talk about German and Italian collaboration with the Japanese Empire and its colonialism, its colonization, its violent, repugnant colonization of Korea. And then the Korean War, which was literally the separation of North and South Korea by two white imperial powers, causing brothers to kill brothers, sisters to kill sisters, families to be split apart, millions of people dead. All of this is a pretty important historical context. And we've already mentioned, like, the ways in which casual white racism spills over into Asian food politics today. I'm speaking too much. I gotta let Ed keep talking.
I've been to them many times. Every time I go to a Vietnamese, a Thai, or even an Indian grocery store, I feel the same way. I feel so uncomfortable and out of water. And even just the other week, I went to Mercadito for the first time ever, which is like this shopping center inside of a building with a bunch of stores and vendors on both sides. And honestly, I was the only non-Mexican person that was there that day. And I felt so uncomfortable, so insecure. And I almost walked up and down trying to figure out which one I wanted to, trying to work up the courage to even talk to someone. And it wasn't until one vendor saw me fumbling around, smiled at me and said, "Welcome. What do you need help with?" And if you see obnoxious people being there to be disrespectful, that's a whole completely different thing.
Which she says in the video. So again, she's not even expressing that she goes out of her way to attack anybody in a grocery store, to make comments to them. She doesn't bump into them. She doesn't tell people not to go. She tells white people go to Asian grocery stores in the video. And she says, yeah, it'd be one thing if they were being actively disrespectful, which is sometimes the case, but I do this even when they're not actively disrespectful sometimes. But all she's saying that she's doing is giving them side eye, right? Side eye. And I'm just like, okay, a white person being anywhere that is inhabited and dominated by people of color in their racialized communities, figuring out a way to make their life work in a country that discriminates against them. Obviously, that's different from you being a Korean person or a Chinese person in a Mexican grocery store. But yes, I understand that you might feel uncomfortable in a Mexican grocery store. You might not know what the ingredients are. You might be a little intimidated. Somebody who's Mexican being in that store, even if they were to look at you like this, that's not oppression. That's just people having all various different types of experiences and not bothering you about them, just keeping them to themselves, giving side eye. That's it. So even if this completely different experience were to be the case here, even if that was to be applicable, which is not, the fact that you're talking about this as if she's essentially saying that white people shouldn't go to grocery stores or to like actively telling people to make people uncomfortable is such a stretch. It's so disrespectful to the point that she was making. It's so disrespectful to her. And you're really bullying this girl online. Like, hella people came to her video because of you doing this, Ed. So you seem to not have a problem with making other people uncomfortable when it's not justified.
I would punt them out of the store myself. But you need to think of the impact that you're having on people who are just trying to learn and appreciate our cultures. In fact, every time I go to the Korean grocery store and I see non-Korean people that look like a fish out of water and look anxious just like I do, I go up and I ask them if they need help. In fact, it's almost always in front of the same places, in front of the meat counter, the snack aisle, or in front of the gochujang. Literally,
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with trying to help people who seem like a fish out of water in the grocery store of the culture you belong to, and when you understand it. But are you seeing also the level of like assimilation that is at play here? Like, are you seeing also the level of like, please come, like I need you, like the level of wanting other people and assuming the absolute best out of other people? It's like you have these complete cultural blinders on to the realities of what white people will often do. And that's not to say, again, literally nobody has said white people shouldn't go into Asian grocery stores or other cultural stores. But to act like any white people who's in there is going to actually not be racist against Asian people and isn't going to actually have like all these prejudices and stereotypes, or isn't going to actually have respect for the people behind the food that they want to consume because it's trendy, I mean, you must be completely detached. Even a friendly white person can sometimes be extremely biased in the sense that they don't take Asian people seriously. And like, as Old Grease is saying, this dude's sense of niceness is so damn superficial. When it comes to a white person being in a Korean grocery store, you are willing to dance and sing and do all this great. What is it that you need? Oh yeah, that kind of sauce. That's called gochujang. Oh, this one's more of a soy garlic. Oh, you're trying to actually. He's willing to do everything. He's rolling out the red carpet for white people in a grocery store. An Asian young woman on TikTok just expressing some discomfort in a self-deprecating manner. No, it's time to jump you. It's time to jump you. It's time to send hordes of people to harass you. I have no fear. I have no care. I have no regard for your well-being. No regard. I'm just going to take what you're saying completely out of context, paint you as this monster, and sit back and watch as people say the absolute worst about you. I mean, look at the comment section, right? Her saying this in a Valley Girl accent is hilarious. He hearted this comment. He hearted this comment by this Luke Mahogany fella. He's letting white people joke about Asians having white accents. He thinks that's really funny because he doesn't understand anything about colonialism, or he doesn't care. Someone said, I better not see you at Trader Joe's sobbing. He hearted this comment. Literally jokes from white people about, oh, let's discriminate against Asian people since that's what she's doing against us, because they completely took the video out of context. Jokes from white people about Asian people having American accents because, I don't know, the United States is the fucking empire of the universe, of the world, and people from all over the world go there to have a better opportunity to live and then assimilate as much as possible so that they can move up the ladder in that country. Oh, what a joke, what a funny thing, because you have a Valley Girl accent. Fuck you. She wouldn't be over here if y'all didn't colonize half the world. So are we not supposed to buy Asian products from Asian-owned businesses and instead just buy them from the white non-Asian-owned businesses? Like, isn't that worse? Nobody said that. And then my favorite. Can we just admit that it's racism? Like, it's just racism. And this is why people say you can't be racist against white people. It's obviously one of those things that you every time you say it, it's like the defund the police thing. People act like they can't understand what you're trying to say. They completely take you out of context. They act like you're actually the most racist person on earth for saying you can't be racist against white people, even though white people are only white in the context of dominating non-white people. When it comes to white people being around other white people, all of a sudden you're Italian. The fuck? Are you white or are you not? That's because whiteness is a literal construct created so that Europeans can maintain a white supremacist society. It's literally made up to justify the Atlantic slave trade, Jim Crow, made up to justify all the colonization of Africa, genocides against non-white peoples, genocides against indigenous Americans. That's what whiteness has created in service of. That's what the term the melting pot was about. Let's all come together in a melting pot, the United States of America. You know what that was in reference to? The melting pot of white people. You know why it's a melting pot? Because they're all white, so they can all melt in together. It was explicitly in reference to only white people, that term, with reference to excluding non-white people. But white people, you give them an inch on this stuff as an Asian person, and they go a mile, and then you get surprised. You're literally facilitating white supremacist shit. Like, this is the type of shit that happens right before white people start discriminating against other people, is that they go, oh, you know what? They hate us just the same. So take out all the context of all the racist stuff that we've done. Take out all the context of the fact that we have a literal white nationalist as the president of the United States right now. Take out all the context of white people being disrespectful towards other cultures and appropriating them for their own commercial gain. Take out all the context of white people colonizing the entire world. Actually, because they side-eye us in grocery stores and this Asian guy says that that's discrimination against white people, we're all the same. So I can turn a blind eye to all of that. That's the kind of stuff that you're facilitating, which is so goofy because you're the kind of Asian liberal that makes content about this kind of thing. You're the kind of Asian liberal that makes content about South Koreans trolling Donald Trump. You're the type of Asian liberal that makes a content series called Fight the Power. And yet here you are, as soon as an Asian person expresses a type of discomfort that they know is a little bit subversive, you can't wait to send the entire armada of white people to fucking dominate them. You cannot wait to let your whole crowd of white followers call them a racist, call them a monster, say that they're going to actively discriminate against them, make these horrific jokes. This is what you're doing. Do not give them this. It's just extremely disappointing behavior, and it doesn't stop there. Here's another one of those Asian liberal content creators, Sujia. She has 2.6 million followers on TikTok, okay? A lot of her content is about food and about the politics of food. But sometimes she talks about other stuff. Like, for instance, she'll talk about SNAP, people losing SNAP benefits under the Trump administration. Sometimes she'll engage with food of different cultures and try to facilitate that. Sometimes she'll talk about racist white people, white Republicans, and their restaurant experiences. But when it comes to this little old Asian girl making a comment about being uncomfortable with white people the same way that you do half the time, something in you gets stirred up. I have to dunk on this young woman.
Oh no. When I get tagged like this, it's rarely for something good. What did you do?
I really am a nice person, but I can't stop myself from giving snark to the white people at Asian grocery stores. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. I can't stop doing it. Like, I just side eye every time I see you there. What are you doing here? And like,
that's not good. Don't do that. There's so much I want to say.
She made a 2-minute video. And all this Sujia person does is say, well, people are leaving these comments, so I know you did something bad. Preconception, prejudgment, prejudice. This is the type of thing that you're trying to dunk on her for, and you're the one who's doing it to her. Then you show like 10 seconds of the clips. You don't show any of the clips of her saying, I know that I'm wrong. You don't show any of the clips of her saying white people go to grocery stores. You don't show the clip of her seeing another Asian person and that the irony of that moment when she tried to side-eye someone and realized they were Asian just like her. You don't show any of the comments about her saying she's a bitch. All you show is these clips out of context of this young woman who is maybe half your age, okay? I'm not trying to be ageist here, but like that should be important. Do you think I would go online and dunk on a 14-year-old by taking their clip 10 seconds out of context and then making up to the fucking crowd that follows me, the 2.6 million followers that I have, that, oh, they're actually racist. They're actually part of the biggest problem.
Hey, I don't even know where to start. Couldn't help but notice that you follow me. And if you follow me, you know that I talk about food. I talk about food quite a bit. And the reason I talk about food is not just because I love food, but because I think food is a great unifier of people, if not the great unifier of people. Because somewhere along the line in everyone's life, they have some kind of attachment, some kind of emotional attachment to food. Everybody has a favorite food. Everybody has the last meal that they want to have on earth, or the smell of something reminds them of somebody that they love, or they have memories of having a late night snack.
That's all great. Who the hell is saying that they don't want somebody to share in food? Who the hell is saying that? She never said something like that. She never said something like that.
Their dad, anything, so many things. I think human beings have general curiosity, for food. And a lot of people...
Again, and this is why this lack of education, or whatever it is that's your problem, and this lack of decolonization, because I really think colonialism will give 90% of conversations the context necessary. This lack of understanding that will have you look at a situation where you have someone who is literally just expressing discomfort at a colonizer being in a colonized space, being in a space created by the colonized, and saying that that's the equivalent of you wanting to get in the way of people sharing food because you have no political understanding whatsoever. None. Serge Golgi says she's a good one. You have no idea. Wait till you hear what else she says.
I experience foods, that are new to them. And a lot of that is done at the supermarket. So for you to not welcome people, not just not welcome them, but to actually deter them, I really don't understand.
That is such an egregious thing to say. She's literally saying that Madeline says she's deterring people from going to Asian grocery stores. And if you watch the video, it's like 3 times that Madeline says, please support Asian grocery stores. White people go to Asian grocery stores, especially if there are smaller Asian-owned grocery stores. It's good that you go there. And this is what Sujia has to say because she watched the full video.
Like, deter them? I really don't understand.
Unbelievable.
When I'm at the Korean grocery store and I see a non-Korean person in the aisle, I deliberately linger. I linger just a little bit longer just in case.
You what?
I deliberately linger. I linger just a little bit longer just in case they're like, excuse me, do you happen to know if I should use this or that for this particular dish or whatever? I want to be helpful to them because I want them to have the best experience with my food that they possibly can. Shit.
So every time you see a non-Korean person in a grocery store, you linger around longer. And this is basically the same thing Ed said. This is how bad they want to be accepted. Like, I have to say it like that because when you see the difference with how they treat someone who is essentially their own, who is concerned about the same things that they are supposed to be concerned about, versus how they think about white people, theoretical white people. The fact that they're like, hey, I linger around and I wonder, like, I fantasize essentially. It's not really a fantasy because sometimes it happens, but I imagine that they're gonna ask me, what am I gonna do with these ingredients? Ed, Sujia, are you kidding me? You're telling Madeline to go to therapy? Do you understand that there's something called the internet? Like, I understand it's so much better to be able to converse with people in person and to be able to have community through which you can actually learn things, and sometimes the internet can be misleading. But also, you're going to an Asian grocery store. Clearly it's because you've encountered Asian food. You didn't think, let me look up what goes into fucking tteokbokki. Are you kidding me? I'm not saying don't talk to people in the grocery store. I actually don't. I think this is a fairly harmless thing to do out of context. But the fact that you're out here bragging about lingering in a Korean grocery store to see if white people want to talk to you about how to use kimchi so that you can dunk on another Asian person, you are racist against Asian people. Do you understand that? That's what that means. I don't care what mean things you have to say about Donald Trump. When it comes down to it, when you're uncomfortable, you default to racism against Asian people. That's what you just did. And then you justify it because they're Asian. You justify it because they're Asian. And what's so interesting is that, like what I referred to earlier, you see like some other people of color or, you know, ostensibly black people, right? Like this person made in Atlanta who are like, what? I agree with her. What are you talking about? Oh no, I agree with her. They gentrify everything. The price goes up on everything. I hate that y'all are bullying this girl for not being comfortable with her oppressors in her space. Hello. For black people, if you saw a black millennial, and I'm like just posing this to any black folks in the chat and commenters. If there was a black millennial who made a TikTok saying, don't side-eye white people in the black grocery store. Don't side-eye white people at the function. We should be glad that they're partaking. We should actually linger around longer to see if they need our help. You tell me what you think, but I personally think that they would get laughed off the fucking app. They would get criticized and joked about so much because you would have black people across all backgrounds saying, bro, do you understand like how much you are essentially kissing up to white people and ignoring the unhealthy and the oppressive dynamics that surface when you don't, I don't want to use the word police, but when you don't gatekeep a little bit, and when you don't remind people of history and of social dynamics, and when you don't check for racism and racial discrimination, and you're not going to get anything. Like, you're not going to get a cookie, right? Ambrose Moonchild says, drag to hell and back twice. Zayn Cuter, they would get clowned. And some people are you know, referring to some terminology that I can't use. Exactly what I was thinking. It was not fly at all, says Shelby Tiger. Wild, right? But among Asian Americans, this shit went triple platinum. An Asian millennial, elder millennial saying, I put on hanbok and I do a whole traditional dance. I start playing fucking pansori music, and then I give a 5-part presentation about all the different ingredients that exist in the store to any white person for free. Like, that's what they're saying on here, right? I can't believe it. I cannot believe it. I can't believe that they reacted to her this way when she literally was giving herself too little credit. Frankly, she should have just brought up the history and been like, this is why I feel uncomfortable. These are the kinds of things that make me uncomfortable when I see white people in an Asian grocery store and make me want to side-eye them. Because trying to appeal to it and trying to be like, I know I'm a bad person, clearly that didn't help. Nobody saw you giving this respectfulness, Madeline, and giving this like level of benefit of the doubt and thought, oh well, she's not like hateful against white people or whatever. She shouldn't be jumped for this. None of them cared. They all still lined up doing backflips and cartwheels, ready to dunk on you. Okay? This is the kind of things that we're talking about. I want to get to that one in a second. Unuri, who does really good content on TikTok, made a video about sushi face. Have you heard about sushi face?
A video of a white woman giving advice. Nothing about this will have to do with race.
With sushi face. I also don't really eat sushi, soy sauce, or anything high in sodium.
If you're trying to find a way to defend this creator, you also probably try to defend people like Sierra and Nick, so swipe away. Or stay and be smart and get educated a bit. So both dermatologists and dietitians have a name for this that doesn't utilize racialized language at all, and it's called sodium bloat or water retention. And if you have a vagina or a period, you definitely have heard of those words.
So the context here is you have white folks on TikTok referring to sodium bloat, sodium retention in your face when you consume a lot of sodium as sushi face. Sushi face, which, mind you, sushi doesn't have that much sodium in it. You know what has sodium in it? French fries. You know what has sodium in it? Cheeseburgers. You know what has sodium in it? Fried chicken, McDonald's, Burger King. And yet the sodium problem, oh, well, that's when you have like that, you know, that MSG type food, right? You know, and you have that sushi. And like she later in that video comments about how it's white people who are the ones who put all this soy sauce on sushi, right? Sushi itself does not have that much sodium in it, and as consumed in Japan, typically would not have that much soy sauce on it. White people are the ones who drown it in soy sauce, and then they get sodium bloat, and then they're like, oh, I got sushi face. This is the kind of ignorant shit that white people do with Asian food. We already know about the MSG thing, right? The way, oh, Chinese food makes me sick. That was a whole song in the 90s. You remember that? New Kids on the Block, Abercrombie and Fitch, Chinese food makes me sick. That was a song white people made. Okay? We could go all day. You remember, well, Chinese, Japanese, Vietnamese, that little game people would play? And this is what white people do about Asian culture. But they just want to invent stuff. They already had terms for the sodium retention, and they still were like, let's call it sushi face. That's cute. All of these things, like Asian food popularizes in the West, and you guys are sitting here as like these respectability politics Asian millennials, like yes, white people want us. White people love our stuff. They love our stuff. Come see this. Come see that. They don't give a fuck. They like it because it's trendy. They like things that they can consume from the outside world the same way that they did when it came to, you know, Sinology and Orientalism in the 17 and 1800s. They want to consume your fine china. They don't give a fuck about you as a person. They don't care to put respect on the thing that you've created. That is the phenomenon we're talking about. Obviously, as individuals, I have many white friends. I don't know, you might not believe this. I know a lot of really cool white people. Okay? I love white people. Some of my best friends are white. But as a sociological phenomenon, if you cannot understand the fact that if you see a white person in a grocery store, at least 2 or 3 times out of 10, that white person is going to have a disrespectful relationship with Asian food and Asian people and racist beliefs. And they're going to have developed this overt familiarity with Asian culture while still being disrespectful toward it in many significant ways. Then you're just like missing the past 20 years. Again, like Gia Marie points out, it's so sad that people still haven't realized they love the products, not the person. What is it that black people say? Everybody wants to be black until it's time to be black. Everybody loves putting black people things on. Everybody loves black people's food and culture and music until it's time to deal with what it's really like to be a black person. In Asian America, you got dudes in kimonos and cheongsams. Talk about, yes, wonderful. Consume my food and soon you'll love me too. This is what they're thinking. This is how backwards it is. And there's a lot of history behind that, and we're going to get into it in a little bit. But of course it doesn't stop there. Well, let's take a quick detour to laugh with this person who reacted to the Suja video.
I woke up to more discourse happening with the whole H Mart gate thing. And I'm realizing a lot of people also...
By the way, H Mart is, if you don't know, very popular Asian grocery store, like a chain of supermarkets that used to just be, you know, inhabited by East Asian people buying products for East Asian cuisines. And then they became more and more popular with like Hallyu, like the rise of Korean stuff, obviously Japanese stuff, even Chinese stuff becoming more popular. And so now people from all races go there. And listen, I've gotten some great stuff at H Mart. Again, literally nobody has said don't shop at an Asian grocery store. But that's why the reference to H Mart is being made.
Don't fuck with Sujiya, which like I was kind of scared to put that in my original video, but like I'm glad some of us are on the same page. I feel like everyone who has like critical thinking skills on this space are like saying the exact fucking takes that I'm thinking. And I totally forgot to bring this up because one of my favorite creators, Unuri, just made a video about it, and she was talking about how Sujia basically said, like, whenever I see a white person in the grocery store, I always want to linger and see if like they need help with anything. Like, that is fucking weird. Like, I feel like that is objectively weirder than Madeline talking about how she saw another Asian girl and then realized that they were both Asian and like side-eyeing each other. Lingering around a white person at an Asian grocery store because you want to help them, like, that is fucking weird. Also, I replied to someone in my last video, but like Sujia deadass just like took the video completely out of context.
Yeah.
So that's why I said like in my caption, like I feel like she made it into something that it wasn't. And Sujia just made it very fucking clear that like she did not watch that video till the end because she was making fun of herself for like side-eyeing a fellow Asian person. And she starts off the whole video being like, food is like the ultimate unifier of people and all this other shit. And it's like, okay, if you want to talk about how much you fucking love food and how much it brings cultures together, great. Why are you doing it in response to this girl's video? Like, it essentially has nothing to do with what she was talking about. Like, it's just so fucking weird. Like, you are essentially taking your hundreds of thousands of followers and sending them to hate on this Asian girl who's also an Asian person, while you go and sit there and say that, oh, I like to linger around white people at an Asian grocery store. Like, let's just think about that first.
You would not catch me lingering around a white person. I'm just going to throw that out there. It doesn't stop there. Do you know the Korean vegan, Joanne Molinaro? She's very popular, 3 million followers on TikTok. She had to chime in too.
I just saw this hideous video.
Hideous! It's a video where she encourages white people to shop at Asian grocery stores like 3 times. Like 3 times. I know that I hold my hands weird a little bit. Like 3 times. Hideous!
I just saw this hideous video by this Asian American content creator who basically confessed that she side eyes and judges any non-Asian patrons when she goes to whatever version of Asian grocery store she visits. Totally get it if you're...
She said white people! Can you believe this? Can you believe this? Do you know how much I have heard over the past 2 years? Oh, Gen Z has a literacy problem. Oh, these young people, they got a literacy problem. Oh, teenagers these days, they don't even read. People these days, they don't even read. Like this young generation, they don't even read. They don't even pay attention to media. They lack media literacy. And now I have to look at it like folks in their 30s and 40s respond to a young woman in her 20s and completely distort everything that she said. Are you out of your mind? When did she say non-Asian people? When did she say non-Asian people? When did Madeline say non-Asian people? When did Madeline say non-Asian people? When did Madeline say non-Asian people? What is happening?
Side-eyeing someone who's being disrespectful or mocking or, any of the horrible things that we've, of course, seen on the internet when ignorant white people go into a space that's supposed to be a haven for non-white people. But she, specifically said that even when they're not being disrespectful and they're just minding their own business and trying to get a good deal at the Asian grocery store, she's still judging them. I find this content to be so freaking tone deaf and disgusting.
I mean, how could you call the content tone deaf if you're not even hearing it? I think that's really funny. You're like, this content is so tone deaf, and you literally heard like 2 words in the whole video. I don't even like calling things tone deaf because we're getting into a little bit of ableism language wise. Like, it gets a little bit dicey there. But if it's anybody who should be called tone deaf or deaf to anything, it should be the person who literally lies about content.
We have a situation right now in our country where 42 million people have lost their food benefit. Those food benefits, by the way, were a whopping $292 per month per individual. We live in one.
So what's interesting is that Madeline in the video literally makes a comment about like seeing white people buy prepackaged sushi at the Asian grocery stores as opposed to buying like ingredients. Like, that's something she refers to if you watch the video back. I'm not gonna litigate this. This doesn't need to go in the final edit, but it's just like, that's not conducive to like, oh, I have these spending habits where I have to be frugal at the Asian grocery store because I lost my SNAP benefits. Like, if you wanted to make this argument, hey, let's just leave grocery store discourse alone for a little while because of the SNAP thing. Maybe that would have been the point. Maybe that would have been the move. I would have been like, okay, that's a fair response to Madeline's video, maybe. To sit here and lie your ass off about her having zero self-awareness about what she was saying, about her actively discouraging people from going to Asian grocery stores, and especially just non-Asian people. I mean, you ought to be ashamed of yourselves. This is shameful behavior.
One of the wealthiest countries in the world, and 42 million people, the majority of which are children and the elderly, are losing their food benefits and going hungry.
Is it weird for me to say this? And who set that system up? Do you understand? We're talking about white supremacy here. And you have such little thoughtfulness about how white nationalism and white supremacy might also be something that might make a person a little bit uncomfortable with seeing white people in an Asian grocery store, as well as being the driving force of austerity measures and the dropping of SNAP benefits. I'm sorry, like half the time when people say who set that system up, I hate it. But in this case, when you're actively apologizing for white people like this, and then you're gonna talk about, oh, and then SNAP benefits are being, because of racism, because of white supremacy, because they've been lying about welfare queens in the hood for like 50 years and cutting hella fucking benefits and social safety nets for the entirety of the country in the process. Through white supremacy, that same thing that you seem to be very concerned with when it comes to your other content, and that same thing that, would make a person a little bit triggered or uncomfortable or God forbid, offer side eye at a white person in an Asian grocery store. I cannot believe the audacity of something like that. So I first got wind of this discourse because of this content creator, Princess Pauli. And I'll just play this really quickly because they go over precisely the content creators we just went over.
With all due respect to these three older Asian creators, Sujia, Ed, and Joanne, they all made their own take on why white people should be allowed in H Mart. And essentially it's the same video where they're saying that we should be preaching love and acceptance and food as a unifying theme and allow these white people and non-white people to try our foods, which is fine. There's a time and place for that. But the original creator isn't saying that white people shouldn't be allowed.
I can't believe it.
That's not the argument. She just side-eyes them because there might be unknown reasons why someone would want to shop at H Mart. The biggest thing in the debate,
no kidding. You think that sometimes people shop at H Mart and Asian grocery stores because the Asian food is trendy and cute to them and don't actually know shit about the traditions or care? I can't believe you would assert such a thing.
That I see in the comments section, which I think only Joanne's the one liking actual comments where she's saying,
look at this,
she's Asian, that it's either an internalized white battle inside her.
It's funny because she is half white. Like, that's an internal issue for her. The Korean vegan hearted that comment. Not to mention she's also half white. Let's pause here for a second. Again, Asian here. Where do I start? Stop using somebody's ancestry as a gotcha. That doesn't make any sense. Let's just start there. You made this point about race, but your grandfather is white, so do you know where The Hague is located? Are you familiar with Sing Sing? Because I think if you just check in and say you need to sit in a cell for a month, they might let you do that. Like, what are we talking about? Like, what are we actually talking about? Do you know how many people who are significant anti-racists have white ancestry? Do you know that that's like an insight? Do you understand that's like a cultural trauma and an insight that's often based on cultural like trauma? Do you think for a second hey, you know what? Even if I disagree with this Madeline person's take from the 10 seconds of the video that I've seen, I'm not going to bother watching the full thing because I think I got the hang of it. And I know that she's Asian. I might just lay off talking about you have white ancestry, so shut up. I might just leave that point and I might put it in a box over here, just file it away for a while. Because systemic rape, things like that. Because military occupation. Because fetishization of Asian women. I forgot fetishization of Asian women by white men. I forgot that was a thing. Oh my God, colonialism, right? So maybe I'm just gonna, the whole comment I had about how she actually hates herself because she's Asian, I might just throw that over here. It doesn't seem appropriate. The fact that they can't even do that just tells you a lot. Like, I really think this is systemically connected to the idea of like black fatigue that we were talking about a while ago. Like, this is white people losing it. Like, losing it, especially when they get a chance to weaponize class politics. You're watching this happen over and over again. It's going to be, I guarantee you, 4, 5, 6 months from now, white people are going to start being pretending to be self-aware about this. But like, it's been about 6, 7, 8 months of white people watching the rise in popularity of socialism and discussions of economic inequality and being like, well, Trump won and I'm losing money and economic inequality is rising and socialism is becoming more relevant. So you know what? I'm fucking tired of talking about racism. And you know what? They give me any reason to dunk on a person of color. I need it. I need it. Like, they're shedding their skin. They feel free as a bird right now. Because especially you got these people of color who think that they're so radical and hip because they called Trump Drumpf or something. And they're giving you license to dunk on Asian people. And white people are fucking Chase Buttinger on that shit. They cannot wait. They are Cooper Flag just dunking on Asians. They cannot stop dunking on people of color. They can't wait. It's like they're getting weight off of their body. It's like they've been carrying training weights on their body like Rock Lee and they're just shedding them. Yeah, I can't stand black people actually because class. And it's like, you can't get away with this. The way that racial politics are just being thrown under the bus because people just discovered what capitalism and class is for the first time. Settlers by Jay Sakai has never been more relevant. The book Settlers by Jay Sakai has never been more relevant because the way that white labor movements in the United States and in the West, white communist movements in the West will continuously, communism, socialism, economic inequality, capitalism, partly as a tacit move to throw people of color under the bus. Do they not realize that we know, like, people of color recognize that, like, for instance, social welfare systems were created and disproportionately benefited white people? Like, that was the result of a lot of socialist agitation. Do they not realize that we've, like, heard, like, colorblind socialism before? Like, we've been through this before historically? Do they not realize that when you tell a black person, you know, I just think that this race stuff, it's like, you know, blown out of proportion. They're just trying to divide us. And if we just focus on the economic issues, you not realize that these black families who have been in America for the past 50, 60, 70 years or not are sitting there like, yeah, this guy's going to sell me out real quick. As soon as he gets like a little bit of a increase in healthcare spending, he's just going to be like, all right, let's just shut the fuck up about race now. I don't know why I thought Elliot was Brazilian. Brazil! What's that? O ariayo, oba, 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 mas que nada. ZH Cultivator, C. Attacks on Chinese workers during the construction of the Transcontinental Road in the U.S. and the Chinese Exclusion Act. We have such a palpable history. We know what happened with Asian Americans, okay? We know what happened. They were a significant part of the labor force. They were impoverished, especially the ones who were from China, which was a country in a period of massive colonization by the West, a period of the age of embarrassment. And then after a while, they passed anti-immigration laws in the early 1900s in different periods of time. And then when they started opening up immigration again, they specifically targeted, through restrictions, they targeted middle class and upper middle class Asian Americans to move to the United States. And then they used those Asian Americans who were already from an affluent class background, or at least more affluent than, for instance, the impoverished black people at the bottom of the caste system in the United States, as the model minority to explain that racism wasn't actually the problem. It's just that these races needed to get their shit together. Did we forget that that's the history of the immigration here, right? This is why I think the generational issue of it is so palpable. I don't think it's a clean break, obviously, because I've known Gen Z Asians who are completely depoliticized. But the early Asian American movement in like the 60s and 50s and 70s, the early Asian American movement was founded in solidarity with other ethnic groups and in more radical ideas of decolonization. Like, we're talking about Yuri Kochiyama here. This is also in the midst of like the anti-Vietnam War movement and the sort of awakening or the beginning of like decolonial politics as a major point of like what we would call left-wing politics in the United States and globally. And what they did through this immigration system and through constant violent tamping downs, destructions of left-wing movements in the United States, was that they created a generation which is now between the ages of like 32 and 70 or 62, let's say, of Asian Americans in this case, who are totally depoliticized, who have no care about like socialism, who have no deep investment in understanding in how colonialism decimated China, Korea, Vietnam, Thailand, like Cambodia, like all of these histories have become footnotes that are barely acknowledged and just looked at as like, oh, that's a tragedy by the wider Asian American community as a fear response, as a trauma response to a US government that was killing people and throwing people in jail who expressed a type of radical politics against that. And so now you have 34-year-olds that are like, why can't we all get along? There's just no difference between me in a Mexican grocery store and a white person in an Asian grocery store. White people are just like anybody else. There's no white supremacist system here. No caste system going on here. There's no systemic racism going on here. Only when I see something that bothers me is there systemic racism, and otherwise I just ignore it. All that stuff comes out of the fact that left-wing politics was fucking burned to the ground in this country. And so when you see this rise in like, bands like Chanpan in New York and like Agents for Zora Mamdani in New York. I've met Asian Americans that are from across the United States who maybe they are part of like Norodor, which is also based in New York and I think in LA, or they're part of these different like Justice for Palestine movements. Asian Americans that are that are Gen Z, they're waking up this left-wing radical politics. They're starting to have these much more, radically tinged conversations about white supremacy and about capitalism and about colonialism. And this older generation literally doesn't understand them. It's like they're speaking a completely different language. It is similar to what Pharrell Williams pulled today, Voodoo Magic, where he's talking about, I don't want to take sides. This is what was created. The U.S. impact on the Philippines. The U.S. violently colonized the Philippines as a fake liberation from Spain. See Puerto Rico, for instance, of how that crosses over into Latin America. And these are just things that especially Asian American millennials and Gen Xers who made a life for themselves, who make over $100K a year, who were able to buy houses, imagine, as 25-year-olds or whatever, have established lives here and have just started caring about politics a little bit more because Trump made it very, very difficult not to. They're just like completely unable to recognize sentiments that are based in a recognition of colonialism and imperialism. They're completely allergic to it. They're allergic to that analysis. They hate it. They still think that the goal is to assimilate to whiteness. They still think that the goal is we should all just hold hands and leave the past behind. And so they just get bonked in the head by white supremacy over and over again. And they say, please serve some more. I would love some more. Why? Because they think that this is part of the process. And they were told that any alternative is not worth it. World of Bear 6727. This is literally describing my Asian mom to a T. Okay, this is exactly it. This type of politics is now becoming more and more relevant again. People are discussing socialism and the Cuban Revolution. And white people are derailing it as much as they can. And this is where that black fatigue stuff comes from. But ultimately, these older generations are still allergic to it. They don't even recognize the allergy in their own body sometimes. They think that they're cool with it, but they're allergic to it. Does that make sense? It's a type of Stockholm syndrome for white supremacy. Yeah. What else we got?
I'm finding the age or generational discourse in reaction to Asian market side-eye gate to be very curious because I'm like a decade older than Sujia and probably old enough to be the mom of Madeline, the original poster. I mean, like, honestly, she's probably the same age as my stepdaughter. And I don't have the baggage that makes me want to punch down on biracial people doing something as innocuous as a side eye. Then again, I also don't feel the need to throw other Asian people under the bus to satisfy a predominantly white follower base.
I'll just mention Shorts Veil DM that I haven't worked with Scentbird in a really long time, and I'm not going to work with them in the future.
It's not the age. Because, I mean, if you go even older, all the ajummas, all the halmeonis, they are side-eyeing everybody in the market.
This is a really important point. Are we just forgetting that like that's like a thing that like 70-year-old and 80-year-old Asian women in Asian grocery markets have done? Like people have talked about this, right? Ajummas, in this case, that's like Korean grandma. That'll be in the Korean grocery store and they'll see you and they'll, right? Is that not something that we grew up with? Is that not something that we had an understanding of? Is that not at all contextualizing something that like what Madeline is saying?
Especially if you're standing in front of their dried vegetables. Especially if you are blocking the way to the produce that they are spending time inspecting. They are fucking side-eyeing everyone, and they would claim Madeline as their own. Like,
Yes.
You get it. You absolutely fucking get it. You side eye every single fucking person blocking your way and buying clearly not fresh grocery store sushi.
Like, I love this point that this content creator makes. I'm sorry I didn't say her name at the beginning. This is Ajumma Dumpling. I love the point that she's making because, first of all, I love bringing the attention to the gap and the idea of folks who are Gen Z now have this kind of connection with folks who are like kind of boomer age or older, which skips over the Gen X and millennial generations in the sense that that generation of Ajummas, they're the ones who immigrated to the United States first. They're the ones who don't speak that perfect California English that some of these content creators we refer to do. They're the ones who have most vividly the memory of colonialism and the most vivid memory of like what that socialist politics was in response to and what systems were being fought against. Even if they didn't participate in it, even if some of them are reactionary themselves, a lot of their acculturation comes from that environment where it used to be a little bit more known just what white people would do. And radical politics used to be, and some of these radical ideas, what we would consider radical now, used to be a little bit more socially normative. And they have a bit more of the memory of the kind of things that these young people today are talking about and fighting against. Whereas these Gen Xers and millennials came up in this time period where it's like, all that stuff is in the past, man, and we're just like all one, and we're all like the same, and we're Americans, so we should just come together, right? It's fire, right, World of Bear? Like, this is the generation connection that these millennials and Gen Xers can't understand. Many of them reject because they haven't done the reading, and so therefore they didn't have any of the acculturation. So that even the people who are older, the boomer generation of these, Asian Americans, these Asians in America, even if they don't know about it or support it politically, have the acculturation of. Does that make sense? Like, this is the kind of thing that they spent years plumbing out of our diasporas that the younger generations are starting to pick up on. Especially this is prevalent in the Asian American community, okay, and among Asian Americans. You see it. You see East Asian Americans talking about communism when they grew up with parents and aunts and uncles who were like, no, we're anti-communist. Like, we gotta assimilate. Like capitalism is like for the best, but if we just tweak it, and like Obama's great, and like that kind of thing. And what's funny is that these Asian millennials and Gen Xers then dominate the discourse, thinking that they're the ones who know and have the sort of entitlement on Asian identity, the sort of entitlement on Asian racial politics. They think they got this thing on lock. And yet Gen Zers are the ones connecting to this in a way that they literally are just missing. So I think that that's a really good point. And then the other thing is like the prepackaged sushi. Hello? She's making reference not only to just a white person existing in the Asian grocery store, but a white person buying something that's like an inferior product, essentially, and taking up space, buying stuff that is essentially targeted at them. People who don't know how to cook with the ingredients and don't seem to want to try, but want to have a little bit of the Asian food experience in their own homes. And especially if they're white, you kind of look at it and you're like, oh yeah, of course you're buying the prepackaged sushi. Yeah, you would. That's what Madeline was also referring to. I think that's a really under-discussed aspect of her TikTok. This is another great video by Unity.
Part, the wasians versus Asians epidemic. I'm going to soft launch this discourse with this opening statement. I think this situation has highlighted how fractured Asian American identity is both on and offline. Let's be so serious for one moment. Asian TikTok has this unspoken hierarchy of who gets to speak depends on how close or how far you are from whiteness. For some Asian Americans, it's really hard for them to grasp some of the same identity struggles that us Asian Americans have. Wasians have that same struggle. Let me give you an example. Asian Americans often talk about this struggle of feeling too foreign in America and too foreign in Asia, hence too American for Asia, too Asia for America. It's the perpetual foreigner trope. Asians, or honestly any mixed Asians now have that same exact feeling, except now they have other Asian Americans policing whether they can participate in our own collective discourse or not.
I think that that's a really important point that Unity makes here too. It's something that you're uncomfortable as because like you're uncomfortable dealing with as a Wasian, because for instance, I had done work covering Asian cultural stuff, Asian American cultural stuff as a journalist. And each time I would feel this insecurity because it's like, okay, yes, my last name is Sang. I'm always racialized as Asian because of how I look, as East Asian because of how I look. And I feel a connection and an understanding with some of these politics, but because I'm not that connected with the Chinese side of myself, really at all in terms of family, and because it really isn't the culture that I connect with the most because, you know, I'm Dominican and American, it's like, do I even have a right? And I think it's just so sad because this shit still applies when it comes to racial politics. If they see you as Asian, they'll treat you as Asian. That's what race is. It's a pseudoscience. It's phenotype judgment. That's the core of it. And so ancestry policing people and then shaming them for being racially critical in any type of way because they have white ancestry, it's just classic reactionary bullshit from these older Asian Americans who had just, like Inuri says, litigated this problem themselves. I don't belong here nor there. That's the whole Asian American trope. And yet, because you've then spent your time, depoliticizing and just worrying about assimilation and things being nice, things being cool, you've actually calcified yourself as a whole category because that's what you think the point is, instead of seeing the solidarities with other people and learning about your history. So instead of caring about colonialism, you care about being Asian American. You care about having a certain Asian identity in the United States and making sure that Asian Americans are, well secured as a racial group so that it reflects well on you in terms of your class status. Like, that's all you care about. And so when these wasians come around, and they don't even fit that model, and then they come around and then they dare to say things that are a little bit radical leaning a little bit, I just think that that's like so telling about the lack of politicization and how it affects people. And like, what's really sad too is like Madeline had to address this. And of course people were being obtuse about it.
State it once for the record. I believe that white people have a right to shop at Asian grocery stores. I believe that they deserve that. That is their right.
You said it 3 times in the original video, Madeline. It's so sad that you have to do this.
Obviously. I also fundamentally believe that the mixing and blending of cultures is not just a beautiful thing, but an important thing. I am literally half Chinese and half white. If not for interethnic mingling, I would not exist. And also as a mixed Asian woman who was raised by a Chinese immigrant with white family that was not, for the most part, particularly open-minded. Maybe a video I posted poking fun at the sometimes ridiculous ways that the complex feelings of being mixed can manifest could have led with more overt humor. And that truly, I take that on the chin. But
the humor was overt. It was so clear you were being silly.
The irony of me getting side-eyed as a white passing person by the very people that I am side-eyeing, that this unworked through animosity that we carry can end up misfiring. The irony of that was never lost on me. That unfortunately was the point of the whole thing, which I guess did not get communicated clearly,
No, you didn't do anything wrong. What happened is that a bunch of salty ass Asian Americans who cannot stand when the little bit of hierarchy that they've developed for themselves, the little bit of white approval that they've gained for themselves, through all this hard work of Asian splaining to them and welcoming them in and putting hanbok on and dancing for them, that little bit of acceptability being threatened at all by you, an Asian person, Asian or not, that fucking triggered them. It made them scared. That's the reality. It made them scared because they're like, my hierarchy, my position. Look at these. And she's not even really Asian like that. And look, she has this Valley Girl accent. Meanwhile, these motherfuckers have Valley Girl accents too. They're literally American. Like, you don't even have a Valley Girl accent. If you have one, then they definitely have one. It's pathetic what they've done to you. And don't let the fact that you got ratioed this hard make you insecure about what you said. I appreciate that you're trying to self-reflect on it, but really, it's so sad. You even said it yourself, what we've been talking about. The Asian police are here right now trying to arrest me for being Asian. How dare you talk about this and not have 4 Asian grandparents? You said it yourself. I had white family, and they weren't exactly the most open-minded. It's depressing that you have, like, you saying that just confirms exactly what we're saying. You have a unique perspective on exactly how this type of quiet discrimination takes place. I really hope Madeline sees this. I really do. And I really hope that people support Madeline more. And I just want to note some extra contextual things before we go about exactly the kind of people and exactly the kind of dynamics I'm talking about. Ah, shit, they're coming back. They're doubling back. The Asian American vote in the 2024 presidential election. It dwindled in terms of support for Kamala Harris. There was a little bit more support for Trump among Asians than there has been before. We already know that conservatism is pretty prominent among Asian Americans, but a solid boba liberal populace has developed. That said, even among the boba liberals, certain reactionary politics can develop and fester and ferment. Like, for instance, the way that Asian Americans fully put their ass behind destroying affirmative action under the guise that it would give them more achievement. God forbid, like model minorities, people who are aspiring to be part of that model minority myth, lose any opportunity to continue that reputation. So here's a write-up from Asian Americans Advancing Justice. In the lead up to the 2023 Supreme Court ruling in Students for Fair Admissions v. Harvard University and Students for Fair Admissions v. University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, which ended race-conscious admissions in higher education. Thanks. Sure, that's not going to backfire. The founder of SFFA, Edward Bloom, and his allies argued that ending affirmative action would supposedly remove a racial barrier to Asian American access to highly selective colleges and universities. Many Asian Americans mistakenly assumed that prioritizing diversity in college admissions benefited Black, Latinx, and Native American students at the expense of Asian American applicants. They believed Bloom and SFFA's claims that efforts to increase campus diversity marginalized Asian Americans, a socioeconomically and ethnically diverse population. So you threw the boot of oppression on Black and brown people just a little bit harder because you were like, but we are the highest achievers and we're being discriminated against, actually. Well, how did that turn out for you, Asian Americans? Now that the latest enrollment numbers for the first year after the Supreme Court's decisions have been released, it is clearer than ever that those myths about affirmative action were untrue. The full op-ed is over here. Please don't fucking paywall me. As selective colleges and universities have released demographic summaries for the class of 2028 in dribs and drabs, it has become clear that researchers' warnings that ending race-conscious admissions could harm Asian Americans without significant benefits are coming true. Research foretold that dismantling affirmative action might produce insignificant enrollment gains, less than 2 percentage points for Asian Americans. Cornell, Harvard, and Stanford universities all saw generally no significant change in the proportion of Asian Americans enrolled, which stayed flat at Harvard, increased by 1 percentage point at Stanford, and 2 percentage points at Cornell. But now you got more white people in there, so I hope that makes you happy. I hope that makes you happy. This is what happens when you don't develop solidarity and an understanding of colonialism and poverty as a systemically produced thing that is necessary for the system to keep running in service of the hegemony, in service of the rich people, and in service of the capitalists, in service of the politicians. You sit over here and you're like, there's a crime going on against Asian Americans. We're not getting enrolled fairly enough. Oh, who cares that I'm going to disproportionately affect Black and brown people? Well, they just don't deserve it. What about merit? We live in a meritocracy, don't we? No, we don't. No, we don't. We never did. You've been lied to. You've been used. And then, of course, we can mention the Stop Asian Hate movement, which was supposed to be this kind of Asian Black Lives Matter answer. That's really what it was. Stop Asian hate. It's just like Black Lives Matter, but for Asians. And of course, it was based in some very founded fears of hate crimes against Asian Americans and Asians in the United States increasing after COVID. But what it turned into was these achievers, these Asian American achievers, being like, you know what we're going to do? We're gonna try to get better policing. We're gonna increase the criminal justice infrastructure. We're gonna increase state and private funding for the police. And we're gonna create this whole organization and this movement that's gonna overshadow all of these projects and networks that already existed to support Asian Americans, as well as solidarity for other groups, including autonomous mutual aid, anti-racist organizing, Black and anti-colonial Palestine solidarity, sex worker solidarity, prisoner support, queer and trans self-determination, abolitionist community building. No, that doesn't fix the big problem, which is that Asian Americans are not being helped by the police enough. We gotta kiss the police's ass a little bit more. Daniel Day Kim literally put a bounty out on a Black man who was on camera footage attacking an Asian woman. Literally did that. I actually didn't even pull that up, but I probably should, right? And then he ruined Avatar. Yep. Here we go. Daniel Day Kim and Daniel Wu offering $25,000 reward to find suspect who assaulted elderly man in California. They're going to offer a $25,000 reward for information leading to the arrest and conviction of this man and his accomplices. Oh yeah, you know what's going to really help? What's going to really help us fight white supremacy in the United States? Let's pay money for people to search for a Black man. I'm sure people will do a great job of finding the correct Black person. I'm sure this is not going to do anything to engender anti-Black policing methods, stop and search. I'm sure this is going to be a great idea. This is what that depoliticization did. This is what this shit did, bro. And it's just like, forget all of the moral convictions and all the, historical context. Did this shit work? Did it get you what you wanted, Asians? Asian Americans, did y'all get what you wanted? Because Trump is back in office now, and you voted for him even more than you did last time. Does that not concern you, boba liberals, at all? Or are y'all more focused on, like, maybe if we're nicer to white people? Let's just make sure we dunk on our own a little bit more and harass our own a little bit more so that we can really show white people that we love them so much. Unbelievable stuff. It's just one of those things that makes me so angry because I've been around it. I've dealt with all manner of issues, discrimination and hate on different parts of this issue. And to watch somebody who is embracing a politics that really even shouldn't be controversial, or just thinking about things critically, get jumped, not just jumped by the right wing, but jumped by people who are ostensibly supposed to be allies, who are supposed to be a little woke, a little bit liberal, because they care more about that approval from white people, even though they dress themselves up as those critical thinkers. It's just dispiriting. It's absolutely dispiriting. The fact of the matter is, y'all lied. Y'all lied. You lied on this young woman's name. You lied on Madeline's name. You all need to send her an apology immediately. You lied about what she said in her video, and you sat there and watched and hit upvote and kikied with white people saying that they were going to discriminate against her going into fucking American grocery stores, that they were being targeted by reverse racism. You sat there and laughed as white people made fun of her for being Wasian, for being mixed, as they joked about her and disparaged her because she has white ancestry, as if that makes her somehow like this idiot who doesn't see that she's actually white. You sanction all this disrespect towards Asian and Wasian people. None of it is going to come back to help you. All of it is going to come back to bite you. These same white people are on this campaign of trying to drum up as much support for not caring about you, me, black people, brown people, anybody else as much as possible. And you just help give them the fuel. And I hope you're happy. I hope you're proud of yourself, bro. I hope you're proud of yourself.